My name is Jeremy Devins of Quietmind Yoga, and I'm here again with Joy Scola.
Hello!
And you can check her out in the links below this video. And today we're continuing this third part in this series of talking about the most fundamental poses you'll do in a class. Great for beginners, great to refine the fundamentals always in your practice. And today is the Vinyasa, Chaturanga, Updog, Downdog. Usually you'll just hear teachers say Vinyasa, and that's what they mean. And the word Vinyasa actually means, a lot of people don't know the actual definition, it just means to place in an intentional way to direct energy. But usually it's a shorthand for these three poses. But to place in an intentional way to direct energy, so we want to be mindful and intentional about how we move through it. There's no rush. We want to link it with the breath, which I haven't covered in this series, but it is the most important part of practice, to have relaxed diaphragmatic breaths through everything you do in your practice. So it's going to be really important as you flow through these poses. So let's just look at what the standard Vinyasa looks like from an experienced practitioner like Joy. So she's just going to go from through these three poses at her own pace. Right. So there was Chaturanga, Up Dog, Down Dog, and she linked with the breath. So it was an exhale to come down, inhale to go up, and then exhale to go back to Down Dog. So generally we want to be exhaling when we're going down or contracting in some way, inhaling when we're opening up or lifting in some way, and then Down Dog is a bit of a sort of flexion of the spine, or the hips rather, so that is an exhale as well. So it's exhale down, inhale up, exhale back to Down Dog. Now we'll break it down a little bit more. So we talked about some of the common mistakes in Down Dog and Chaturanga. So let's look at some of the little mistakes of Up Dog while we're here. All right.
Up dog or cobra?
So
Up dog?
So Up Dog first. Yep.
Okay, up.
All right. All right. Give that a rest. All right. So I don't like to make her do this stuff too long. But your yoga teacher sometimes might make you do this through a whole class and not say anything. So I want you to be well prepared for your classes. So first of all, like you mentioned, you can go to cobra or up dog. So that's an option, a progression that you could explore. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, just looking at what was happening in her shoulders. Remember, was it elevation or depression that you saw was the mistake? Elevation or depression? All right, so, and then were her fingers kind of cupping again, or were they flat? What's going to be more stable, as we've talked about in this series? And then what else was going on there? Lifting the chin, right? So you're
It was like crunching your neck in half.
right. So you can crunch your neck in half, or just keep it more neutral.
Lengthen your neck.
Right. Right. So the cervical vertebrae can go into extension or flexion. And what we want is not too much extension, not a bunch of flexion, but somewhere in the middle where it's almost like our head is magnetized towards the ceiling. So let's go look at the pose again and kind of come out of these misalignments and common mistakes. And so we'll depress the shoulders with a retraction of the shoulders. Arms are slightly externally rotated, and the head's more neutral, not lifting or lowering too much. Nice. And you can let your knees down. That's a common mistake. That's actually not really Up Dog, it's more of a cobra now. So lifting the knees back, just again, the tops of the feet are down, the knees are lifted. That's upward facing dog. You can come down to your hips into cobra for a second, because this is a nice option as well. You can always skip Up Dog, you can always skip the Chaturanga and just go down to your hips and do this little cobra as a spinal extension. The goal is to get this spinal thoracic extension right here. The shoulders slightly retract to do that, like she's doing. That's the kind of intention of the pose, to get a little heart opening here, which is great. All of us can benefit from more heart opening. And you could do that with your hands even floating off the ground if you wanted. Just a little baby cobra. That's a little more back strengthening. You might even see the muscles of her back, how they activate a little more. So that's a great way to do another option instead of the Up Dog if you wanted to do that. Some progressions to explore. Mm-hmm. Right, so that's
like pulling versus pushing.
Right, and you could do this cobra with your hands down and do a sort of pulling back. And that's a little more retracting of the shoulders, more activation of the back. So we do want that thoracic extension. You see how our chest is pushing forward, shoulders going back. That is what we want in Up Dog, but not in Down Dog or Chaturanga. They're different poses. All right, so let's go back to the Vinyasa again, the Chaturanga, Up Dog, Down Dog, and just look at the standard version. Awesome. So let's look at a version if you do belly cobra down dog. So no chaturanga, no updog, just belly cobra. Right, and that's great for someone who's more of a beginner. It gives you different options. Or if you're getting tired in the class, you can still do everything safely and you stay in alignment and you don't drop your hips, you don't drop into any of those mistakes we've covered to sacrifice the alignment for the speed of the class or to rush through anything. So you always want to listen to your body and find that alignment that we've covered in the previous little lessons about everything and keep that, and you can always do the modifications to do a little less, or you could do a little bit more. So let's look at a vinyasa where you lift your right leg as you flow through. All right, so it's just, here we go, Chaturanga. You can lower the foot there if you want, yep, and then back to down dog. All right, so simple, pretty basic. That's a common thing you'll see in classes a lot as well. So anything I'm missing in vinyasas here?
I don't think so, yeah.
So once you break down like down dog itself and chaturanga, those are the really challenging, there's a lot of stuff happening poses. But once you got those, then you just link them with your breath, and it's pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. And another option, just one last progression I'll often teach is belly locust down dog, but it's you've got to be really quick to do that. So sometimes the pace of the class isn't really fitting for that. But if you know that you're already sitting a lot and your chest is weak and you want to maybe strengthen that, you can work on like a slower chaturanga. And if you want to strengthen your back, you can work on the locust pose just for a moment there, and then you go back to down dog. Right? So ideally, it's about a 3 to 5 second inhale, a 3 to 5 second exhale all through a vinyasa class. So you're not rushing, and you're also not going so slow that you're like forcing it. But it's about this 3 to 5 second inhale, 3 to 5 second exhale. And with practice, you can be efficient enough with that to go into belly, locust, down dog. And if the teacher is experienced enough, they'll give you space to not rush you, to know like that's about a good pace for everybody to go. About 3 to 5 seconds inhale, 3 to 5 seconds exhale as you flow through the vinyasa. Then from there, you end up in down dog, and you can do all sorts of fancy things from there. And that's where usually a lot of the poses are routed through in a yoga class. Mm-hmm. So that's our little overview of the vinyasa sequence that you'll do in so many of your classes. And I want to say thank you again to Joy for being here for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can check her out again at the links below. She's got awesome YouTube videos. We've done some videos together before. If you like this, check those out.
Plus some aerial stuff.
Some aerial stuff, yeah. So, yeah, lots of cool stuff on Joy's channel, and we'll probably be working together again in the future. So thank you for checking this out, and thank you, Joy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, namaste.
Namaste. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.